Chapter 2, the Heifer, page 109. Those who spend their wealth for God's cause may be compared to a grain of corn which sprouts into 7 ears, with 100 grains in each ear. For God grants manifold increase to whom he wills. A God is infinite and all-knowing. Those who spend their wealth for God's cause and do not follow their almsgiving with taunts and insults shall be rewarded by their Lord. They shall have no fear, nor shall they grieve. Commentary by Maulana Wahiduddin Khan. Every act committed by man is like a seed planted in the ground. If one does something in order to be admired by others, it is as though one is planting a seed in the earth of this world. If, on the other hand, one acts in order to please God, then one has sown a seed in the everlasting fields of the hereafter, where it will blossom and bear fruit. In this world, one seed produces 1,000 grains of corn. Likewise, in the harvest of the hereafter, man will reap rewards far in excess of what he has sown. One who spends his wealth in order to gain worldly fame and prestige, and who seeks to be recompensed in this ephemeral world, will have no share in the rewards of the life everlasting. Those who spend for the cause of God, on the other hand, adopt a different approach. They do not, for one, taunt their beneficiaries with reminders of the favors they have bestowed. Indeed, having spent from their wealth for the cause of God, they do not consider themselves to have bestowed any favor at all upon anyone, and they do not show any displeasure if a gracious response is not forthcoming from those to whom they have been generous. This is because their hopes are pinned on being rewarded in full by God. So what do they care if human beings show appreciation or not? Moreover, if they are unable to accede to a request for monetary assistance, at least they do not rebuff the suppliant. Instead, they find kind words with which to excuse themselves, for they know that God hears everything they say. Their fear of God makes them circumspect in the choice of words they utter to their fellow human beings. Chapter 2, the Heifer, page 110. A kind word and forgiveness is better than a charitable deed followed by hurtful words. God is self-sufficient and forbearing. Believers, do not cancel out your charitable deeds with reminders and hurtful words, like one who spends his wealth only to be seen by people, and not believing in God and the last day. Such men are like a rock covered with earth. A shower falls upon it and leaves it hard and bare. They will gain nothing from their works. God does not guide those who deny the truth. Commentary by Maulana Wahiduddin Khan. Some soil, earth, may collect on the surface of a boulder. Outwardly, it appears as though this is good, fertile soil, but when a gust of wind brings a rain shower down upon it, then the earth is washed away, leaving the rock exposed to the elements. The same is true of one who has donned a superficial robe of piety, without that piety having permeated his entire being. Should he be addressed rudely by someone asking for financial help, or should his ego receive a wounding blow, he becomes so irritated that he exceeds all bounds of decency in his response. Incidents of this nature are like the showers of rain which wash outward garb of piety, leaving his true nature exposed to the outside world. To do things for God's sake is to give priority to the invisible over the visible world. It is to set one's sights on an unseen world, over and above the world which meets the eye. This requires a loftiness of vision. Those who show such sublimity of vision have the door of God's realization open to them. Chapter 2, the Heifer, page 111. But those who spend their wealth in order to gain God's approval and to strengthen their souls are like a garden on elevated ground. When heavy rain falls on it, it doubles its produce, and if heavy rain does not fall, then light rain suffices. God sees what you do. Commentary by Maulana Wahiduddin Khan. If an individual has some goal in mind, his own striving towards the attainment of that goal further strengthens his willpower and increases the mental resolve, which enables him to reach his objective. Should it be the objects of his own desires towards which his efforts are directed, then the more he exerts himself, the more he will set his heart on them. However, should it be the will of God that holds pride of place in determining his actions, then it will be God on whom his heart is set. One acts at all events under conditions which are sometimes difficult and sometimes comparatively easy. But the more difficult the conditions one encounters, the greater will be the increase in one's willpower and the stronger one's connection to that on which one's heart is set. One who spends for the cause of God under normal conditions will certainly have his reward from God. However, when spending for God's cause is done in adverse circumstances, which call for a special exercise of willpower, the reward which God grants on such occasions will be commensurately greater. For instance, if the outlay of one's wealth is done on something from which no worldly benefit will be forthcoming, then in that case it is done solely for the sake of God. Then one may have to give to a person to whom one would rather not give anything. Again, it is done just to please God. One may have a grudge against someone, yet one still extends to him the hand of friendship. All these acts strengthen one's bond with the Lord, opening the way to his special grace and succor. Chapter 2, the Heifer, page 112. Would any of you, being a man well advanced in age with helpless children to support, like to have a garden of dates and grapes, watered by rivers and containing all kinds of fruits, stricken by a fiery whirlwind and utterly scorched? Thus God makes his signs clear to you, so that you may reflect. Commentary by Maulana Wahiduddin Khan. When an individual plants an orchard in his youth, he does so in the hope that he will enjoy its fruits when he grows old. How unfortunate, then, is one who sees his beautiful orchard reduced to rubble towards the end of his days, just when he stands in greatest need of it. Now time has run out on him, and he has no chance of nurturing new saplings. This is exactly what will happen to those who engage themselves in a religious cause, purely out of lust for worldly prestige and profit. Outwardly, they appear to be engaged in pious works, but it is only in their form that their actions differ from those of the run-of-the-mill materialists of this world. In reality, there is no difference between the two types of people. Normally, people seeking worldly fame and prestige choose worldly means of attaining their goals, whereas hypocritical people choose religious means of advancement towards the same worldly ends. All are aiming at the same mundane goals. Only the ways in which they go about achieving them are different. People guided by worldly motives in all their actions will find no reward awaiting them in the hereafter. God's signs take an abstruse form. Only those who cultivate in themselves a capacity for reflection are able to decipher these signs and through them come to know God.